All right, so today we're diving into the Book of Jasher.
Hmm.
And before you think we're going all, religious on you guys, we're
Right.
not approaching it as, kind of like a historical document or, a companion piece to the Bible.
Right.
It's mentioned in the Bible,
Yeah.
like Joshua's 2 Samuel.
Nah.
But the wild thing is, this book was thought to be lost for centuries.
Oh, wow.
And then, boom, reappears in the 19th century.
That's amazing.
It's like finding the, director's cut of
Right.
some classic movie.
Yeah, it really is.
And it gives you this whole other perspective on
Yeah.
these stories that we've, heard a million times.
It really does make you kind of rethink everything you thought you knew.
Exactly. And so we're focusing on Cain and Abel today.
Okay.
The first brothers, the first murder, all that.
Yeah.
But trust me, there's a lot more to this story.
It's often told in a very kind of simplified way.
Right.
But Jasher really fleshes it out.
Yeah.
Gives us a much richer, more human picture.
Okay, so starting from the very beginning.
Okay.
Jasher, it pretty much echoes Genesis with the whole creation story. God creates Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
But here's a detail that really jumped out at me.
Okay.
They're named Adam and Eve before they eat the fruit.
Right.
What do you make of that?
Well, that's a great point. I mean, it really suggests that their names, like their identities,
Yeah.
are inherent. They're not a consequence of their actions.
Mm-hmm.
The fall doesn't define them.
Right.
It's something that kind of happens
Yeah.
within the framework of who they already are.
It makes you wonder.
Yeah.
And speaking of things that make you wonder,
Okay.
let's talk about the serpent.
Right.
So, unlike the traditional telling, in the Bible,
Yeah.
Jasher specifically says that God created the serpent
Oh, wow.
right alongside Adam and Eve.
That's interesting.
I mean, what's that about?
Yeah.
Why include it in this perfect creation?
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really challenges our traditional understanding.
Right.
Some scholars would say that it implies, maybe a more intentional role for the serpent,
Mm-hmm.
like almost as a
Yeah.
catalyst for human evolution.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, the fall happens, forbidden fruit, all that.
Mm-hmm.
But here's where Jasher emphasizes something that I think sometimes gets glossed over.
Okay.
Both Adam and Eve get curses from God.
Right.
It's not just, one of them taking the blame.
Yeah.
They both face consequences.
It really emphasizes the idea of shared responsibility.
Right.
They both made the choice,
Right.
and they both have to deal with what comes after.
Yeah, it's a more balanced perspective, I think.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now on to the main event.
Right.
Cain and Abel.
Yeah.
Eve gives birth, and right away their names are significant.
Okay.
With Cain, she says, I have obtained a man from the Lord.
Right.
But for Abel, it's, in vanity we came into the earth, and in vanity we shall be taken from it.
Wow.
It's like foreshadowing.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, their destinies are woven into their very names.
Yeah.
Cain, the one obtained from the Lord, becomes associated with these earthly pursuits,
Right.
while Abel, born into vanity,
Remember?
kind of embodies this more spiritual inclination.
Yeah, and that difference plays out in what they choose to do, too. Cain, the tiller of the ground,
Right.
focused on the material world.
Yeah.
Abel, the shepherd,
Right.
connected to this higher purpose.
Absolutely.
And that brings us to the offerings.
Okay.
Now, Jasher gives us this really interesting detail that I think sheds some light
Yeah.
on why God favored Abel's offering.
Okay.
It wasn't just that Cain's was rejected. It says that he brought inferior fruit. Well, Abel offered the firstlings and fat of his flock.
Wow. So Cain didn't even put in the effort.
Right.
It's like he was holding back.
Yeah.
It wasn't about God arbitrarily choosing one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
It was about their attitude,
Right.
their willingness to give their best.
Yeah. And then instead of just saying that Cain was jealous,
Okay.
Jasher actually lays out their argument.
Oh.
Abel's flock was grazing on Cain's land. Cain was using Abel's wool and meat.
Okay.
So it's more complex.
And it makes him seem much more human.
Yeah.
We can all relate to that kind of conflict.
Right. It's not just sibling rivalry.
Right.
It's resources, it's fairness, it's conflict.
Absolutely.
And that leads to that moment where Cain says to Abel, if I kill you, who's going to stop me?
Oh, wow.
And Abel's answer,
yes.
so profound, surely God will avenge my cause for the Lord, is the judge and arbiter.
He's invoking divine justice, even way back then.
Right.
It adds this whole other moral dimension to their conflict.
Yeah.
It's not just a simple squabble between brothers.
Now, here's a detail that I found particularly striking.
Okay.
It says that Cain killed Abel with the iron part of his plowing instrument.
Wow, that sends chills down my spine.
Yeah, it has a very visceral quality to it.
It's like he took something that's supposed to nurture life and turned it into an instrument of death.
Yeah, so after the murder, you see Cain full of remorse,
Oh, wow.
trying to hide the body.
Yeah.
But God confronts him,
Right.
and the curse that he gives is very specific.
Okay.
The ground will no longer yield its strength to Cain. Only thorns and thistles will grow.
Right.
And he'll be a wanderer.
But the punishment fits the crime.
Right.
His livelihood is directly impacted.
Yeah.
The earth that he tried to control rejects him.
Right.
And that perpetual wandering, that reflects his inner turmoil.
Right.
His inability to find peace.
Okay, so let's pause here for now.
Okay.
But I'm already blown away by this version of the story.
We've uncovered so much nuance and symbolism.
Yeah, so much richer and more thought-provoking.
And we're just getting started.
Yeah.
There's so much more to explore in Cain's journey.
Okay.
And what it reveals about sin, punishment, and maybe even redemption.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
All right. It's interesting that Jasher doesn't just kind of like leave Cain, just wandering around suffering.
Right.
It actually follows him.
Yeah.
And shows us what happens next.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You think of him as just this tragic figure, doomed to wander.
Right.
But it's not quite like that, is it?
Not exactly.
No.
According to Jasher, he finds some measure of peace.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he even goes on to build a city.
Whoa. Hold on. He builds a city.
Yeah.
But he was cursed by God.
Right.
I mean, a city back then wasn't just,
right.
a little
It
village.
was a big deal.
Yeah, a center of,
right.
civilization.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a symbol of, human achievement.
Right, and progress.
Yeah.
So what do we make of that?
That's pretty thought-provoking, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like he was trying to repent in a way.
Yeah.
Create something good. Despite, the bad stuff he'd done.
It really changes how you see him.
Yeah.
He's not just defined by that one act, right? He's capable of terrible things.
Of course.
But also building,
Yeah.
creating,
right.
contributing to society.
It reminds us that even when we do awful things, there's still potential for growth,
right.
for change, maybe even for some kind of redemption.
It makes you think about forgiveness.
It does.
I mean, does building a city erase taking a life?
That's a tough one.
Right.
I don't think there's an easy answer.
Yeah, it's what makes it so interesting.
It is.
It's not black and white.
Right.
It's all these shades of gray.
It makes you think about justice.
Yeah.
Punishment.
Can you ever really balance the scales after something like that?
I don't know.
Right.
It's complicated.
We want simple answers, but life isn't like that.
No, it's not.
And these old stories, they reflect that, don't they?
You really do.
They're messy, just like human existence.
Yeah, with all its consequences.
It's amazing how these stories from so long ago still resonate with us.
I know, it's incredible, isn't it?
Why do you think that is?
I think it's because they tap into these universal themes.
Right.
Love.
Yeah.
Betrayal. Jealousy.
Yeah.
Guilt.
Yeah.
The search for meaning.
Right. All part of the human experience.
No matter where you live.
Yeah. Or when you live.
Exactly.
Cain and Abel gives us a framework to explore all of that.
It's like a mirror.
It's so different from how you usually hear the story.
Right. It's amazing.
Yeah.
The power of perspective.
It really is.
Same events, but totally different meaning.
It makes you wonder what other stories are out there.
Oh, I know.
Right, just waiting to be rediscovered.
So many hidden gems.
But let's get back to Cain.
Okay.
What happens to him?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Jasher connects his story to like the bigger picture of history.
Okay.
It talks about his descendants.
Oh, wow.
His lineage and how they actually helped shape civilization.
Now that's a cliffhanger.
It is, isn't it?
I want to know more about these descendants.
We'll have to save that for next time.
Yeah, right. Okay, so we left off with that whole thing about Cain's descendants,
Right.
and their role in shaping civilization.
Right.
What can you tell us about these guys?
Well, this is where Jasher gets really fascinating.
Okay.
It's not just about Cain's fate. It's about his whole lineage.
Right.
Their impact on the world.
Yeah, like zooming out to see the bigger picture.
Exactly.
It makes you think about nature versus nurture, right?
It really does.
I mean, here's Cain cursed carrying this huge burden.
Yeah.
But his descendants, they go on to do all these great things.
It's hard to wrap your head around, isn't it?
It is.
It challenges our ideas about good and evil.
Right.
Like someone can do something terrible.
Yeah.
But their family can still contribute to humanity.
It's kind of unsettling.
It is.
It's like those Greek tragedies,
Right.
sins of the father.
Yeah. But it's not really about punishment here.
Right, it's more like legacy and free will.
Yeah, they're not defined by a sin,
Right.
but they're not totally free from it either.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Like Jasher is saying the history isn't a straight line.
Right.
It's more like a tapestry.
Okay.
With dark and light all woven together.
So what exactly did Cain's descendants do?
Well, according to Jasher,
Yeah.
they were artisans,
Oh, wow.
musicians,
Are they?
city builders.
Wow, so they were really accomplished.
Yeah, they developed new technologies,
Okay.
made musical instruments,
Interesting.
created thriving communities.
It's like they were trying to make up for Cain's sin.
Maybe.
Do you think that was intentional?
It's hard to say.
Right.
Jasher doesn't tell us their motivations,
Right.
but it does make you think
It does.
about the weight of the past
Mm-hmm.
and the drive to create something better.
Yeah. It's like they were trying to redeem the family name.
It's a really interesting idea.
It makes you think about the legacy we all inherit. The good and the bad.
We don't choose our ancestors,
Oh.
but we do choose how we respond.
Right. Do we let it define us?
Or do we use it to make something better?
This whole deep dive into Jasher has been incredible.
It's amazing what a little perspective can do.
I know, it's completely changed how I see the story.
Me too.
What was the most significant thing you learned?
I think it's that even the most familiar stories
Yeah,
can have hidden depths.
absolutely.
We need to question our assumptions,
Right.
look deeper,
Yeah.
and remember the power of stories.
Right. They shape how we see the world.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
And for everyone listening out there, I'd like to leave you with this.
Okay.
If Cain, despite everything,
Yeah.
could still contribute to civilization,
Right through his descendants.
does that change how we think about justice, punishment?
It's a question with no easy answers.
It's definitely something to think about.
The Book of Jasher,
Yeah.
it doesn't give us all the answers.
No.
But it opens up a world of possibilities.
It really does make you think.
It does.